In this step, we're going to download an application called SourceTree, which is going to enable us to work as a team. This step will include a few things. Firstly, downloading and installing SourceTree, opening our local repository on SourceTree, committing our game files that we copied in the last step to our local repository on SourceTree, and then pushing all of our game files to our central repository using SourceTree. So let's get started. First, if you go to this URL, you can download SourceTree. Copy SourceTree app to your applications folder and then start it up. Once you open up SourceTree, it'll present you with this list of repositories. Obviously, you haven't got any at the moment. So you want to select local, and then you want to select new, add existing local repository, because we already have one. We need to add it into that list. So select Bitbucket, GameMaker, and Tower, which is where our repository is, and open. And then you'll probably be presented with a couple of passwords. These are your Mac or Windows passwords. Just put these in. It won't ask you again. SourceTree will store this as a bookmark here. Now, you may also have additional steps to connect your SourceTree account to Bitbucket initially. So if you do, just connect it to Bitbucket and then do what I've done here. Now you want to double click, and again, Mac password, always allow. Hopefully won't be asked again. Now in this view here, just look at the left hand side. It says we have 4 files to commit. Now those are the files we copied into the repository when we created the game in the last step. Down the left hand side we've got file status. Now this would always tell you which files have been changed. So if you do some work, the files you've worked on will always appear here. If there are no files that have been changed, nothing will appear here. And the process of uploading to the central repository is to commit all your files to your local and then push them up to the central. As time goes on, there will be a history, and initially the history of our repository is that we've had one initial commit by Philip J. Fry. So in order to commit to local, we will click unstaged files and immediately stages them all, and then we will put a commit message down the bottom, added game files, and we will also push changes immediately to Origin Master. Now, Origin is the central repository that SourceTree knows about, because when you originally cloned the repository on the command line with that command git clone, there was a link back to the central repository. So that is known as the origin. So when we're saying push changes immediately to origin, that means push these changes I'm going to commit to the local repository to the linked repository in Bitbucket, which is the one we originally created. So let's commit. That will commit all our files into local, and it will tell us then that there's nothing to commit here, and it will also do the push automatically. If we go to history, we've now got another commit, added game files, and Origin Master is at the same level of our Origin head, which is the local repository. So if we now go back into Bitbucket and we go to commits, hopefully we'll see that push that just occurred. Added game files. It's actually me. Don't worry too much about this because I've got a couple of accounts I'm using on my machine. The important thing is that the commit has been added. Now, if you look at the source, we see that it's also been added because previously we only had the README file. We're actually getting to the end now. You'll probably be glad to know. In the next step, we'll be using GameMaker with SourceTree and getting a workflow going. After that, we'll be inviting team members so they can do the same thing and you can all start coding your games together.